Hey guys, welcome back to Anchored. I'm your host Jason. I'm here with a special guest, Ed. I'm going to say it wrong.
Mathien.
Mathien?
Mathien.
I was thinking Mathien.
Math and then Einstein.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ed Mathien. Is that right?
No! Mathien.
All right. We're here with Ed. Do the math. That's what we call him here.
Yeah, there you go.
So today's going to be a little bit different. Normally we talk about training and nutrition. We're going to take a little bit of a detour today. Ed is kind of our resident endurance runner. We've kind of adopted him as that. Why don't you give the people a little bit of background on why you're qualified to be the endurance runner?
Why I'm qualified? Endurance, because I'm not fast. So if you can't run fast, you better run long. Over the last, 10 or 11 years, I've done 7 half marathons, 23 marathons, 2 50Ks, 2 50-mile races, and then another, half dozen or so ultra length events of varying lengths that don't break down a nice easy number like that. I've run in, I think, 10 states, 2 countries.
If those numbers seem very big to you, that's because they are. That's stuff that you can't just go and do. There's a lot of training involved, building up the volume. Just like if you're going to build up to a heavy squat or build up a deadlift, you need to put in the work for that. You can't just do it. Same thing with these runs. You have to put in a lot of time to build that endurance volume. Where do we want to talk? So you have all this running experience, and then you come and do CrossFit. Okay. Talk to us about like the difference between running, obviously endurance running, and then CrossFit. How is it different?
I think the biggest difference is the length of time. If you're training for one of these long races, one of the things you have to do is time on feet, and going out and running really hard for 15 minutes or even an hour, a couple times a week isn't going to cut it. So I've got training runs that are anywhere, it could be 6-8 hours. As you're getting closer and you're getting that high mileage in there. Whereas CrossFit, there's a nice start, middle, end. You're in and out of here in a little over an hour. But you almost feel the same leaving here as you do a 6-hour run. With those long runs, it's just pick a direction, you know your route, and you keep going. You just keep moving.
Right.
Run, walk, crawl, whatever you need to do. And
I can relate a little bit. I've never done the super crazy stuff, but I've done a couple halves and a full marathon, so it's 26.2 miles, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you might get done with a 10-minute workout here, and as soon as you're done, like you said with both, it's like, holy cow, that took everything I had to finish. But then afterwards, it's kind of like, the
recovery is different.
After you're done recovering from that 10 to 15 minute WOD, it's like, I have a lot of reserves here. I can probably go again or something like that. So I'm just going to make a quick tangent here. If you are a competitive athlete and you're looking to train for things like regionals where you need to, or even just normal local competitions, and you need to be ready to compete again in 2 hours, building up a huge aerobic capacity will help a lot with that. Because you can probably attest, like, if you do a relatively easy workout, some people will be like just completely smoked after it, but then you get done, you're like, that wasn't so bad, I could probably do something again.
Yeah, you take a couple minutes. I mean, that is one great benefit I found, is that both my heart rate and my breathing rate recover generally faster than most people. I can be totally exhausted, laying on the floor, and in 3 minutes I'm back to 62 beats per minute.
Yep. So let's look at the other side of the coin. How has CrossFit impacted your running?
I've run a lot less. Well, I should say I run fewer times. I'm still putting in some decent mileage. But I know you and I have talked about this, but I actually went last week and counted up my training miles from January up until my 50-mile race the first time I did it, and compared it to last year after I'd been doing CrossFit for, was it 6-8 months. So the first time I did nearly 500 miles from January 1st to Mother's Day. Last year I did just over 200. So less than half.
Significantly decreased. Now you said
my time was faster, my experience was better.
Okay.
Now some of that, you know, you can nail down or throw down to just knowing what to expect, knowing what to do. But that amount of a decrease. And then just
I was going to say, I'm actually surprised that your times got better, because for something where you need that training volume, if you don't have it,
much better.
But still, you know,
5 minutes.
you can expect that, like, you know, for someone who's going for 1,000 pound squat, how consistently they have to squat to be able, and then once they stop doing that, just from the repetition decreasing, it's going to go down. You can kind of expect the same thing in a run. So the fact that you were able to maintain and get a little bit better without doing, like, you know, cutting the training volume down significantly is impressive.
Yeah. Well, I think a huge part of it is just the core strengthening. You know, when you are running a long distance, you're running up and down hills, and this was out on the Ice Age Trail, so it's tough trails. You know, your tendency is to slouch. You know, your posture is going to...
Like me right now.
Yeah. It's hard to do in the box. You know, you're going to slouch, you're constantly having to stabilize, so the core is going to get sore faster if you're not strong. You know, you're jumping over logs, you're tripping over rocks, you're sliding through mud, and I think that's probably one of the places this has helped the most.
Right, just being stronger all around. And,
yeah,
yep.
You know, when you do turn your ankle on that rock, because you're doing, you know, squats or something where you're doing in these weird positions, all that stuff's stronger, and it just takes that edge off.
Yep.
You know, gives you a little bit more.
Cool. So let's talk to a runner who thinks CrossFit's not good for them. In like one sentence, what would you say?
Try it for a while. See what happens.
Yeah.
That's one sentence. I don't want to go anywhere.
No, I love that, because I'm all about, like, experimenting. If I want to do something new, I give it 2 weeks. If I don't like it, then I stop doing it.
Well, and there's always that, you know, you don't know how a new training thing is going to affect everything else you do. You may try it and it's like, nope, that's not me, that's not what I want. But, you know, if all you do is running, sometimes, you know, you can plateau.
Yeah.
And it's hard to just say, oh, just run faster or run farther. Those aren't always legitimate options. So sometimes you do have to throw in something different. For a long time, I resisted that. You know, with biking or skiing, you know, I do that a little bit here and there, but, you know, you do hear a lot, cross-train. I don't know how to do that. Like, personally, I was like, well, I'll go walk into a gym and I'm like, well, I'll lift up. I saw a guy do this once, so now I'm lost. So all these people are looking at me weird, I'm going to go home. And so that was one of the things I appreciate about CrossFit is, you know, I can come in, there's something to do, there's somebody telling me how to do it, telling me when to do it, and when I'm done.
Yep.
And then I can leave. I'm not wandering around here like, these things are so intimidating. I don't know what to do with them.
Yep. And then potentially hurting yourself and all that stuff.
Exactly.
And then what would you say in a sentence to a CrossFitter who says, because they all say this, they hate running?
You're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So many people, when they think of running, they think of a sprint. You know, I've got to get there as fast as possible. And if you're trying to run for any appreciable distance, that's generally not going to work unless you're gifted that way. Slow down. If you're doing even a mile, do what we call a conversational pace, which is you and I should be able to communicate back and forth.
Right.
And we're not going to be reading, you know, Dostoevsky to each other, but you should be able to answer in short sentences. If I ask you a question like, "Hey man, how's your ankle feeling from last week?" and you're like, yeah, it's okay. You know, you'll be a little winded, but that's what you.
But never to the point where like, I can't talk.
If you're gasping, slow down.
Yeah. And I can second that. I mean, you don't try to kill yourself on the run. Like, CrossFitters are so good at pacing everything in the workout, from like just normal like wall balls to deadlifts to anything. But yeah, when they get in that run, they try to go as hard as they can. And I don't know. I enjoy it. I like being outside. I did it for 2 years. So maybe that's just me, but
and if you are doing, if it's a 100-meter run in a WOD, sure, go balls out. Who cares? But you're doing Murph, don't do that.
Right, nice and easy.
You're not going to get real far.
All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you very much for joining us and telling us a little bit about running. I think it's a great tool for any CrossFitter who's trying to get better, and vice versa. I think CrossFit, you're proof that CrossFit can help you if you're a competitive runner as well. So thank you guys. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Harbor Park CrossFit, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well to be notified every time these videos come out. We will see you next time.